Hi, everyone. I'm Benita Perkins with Durham County Public Health, and I'm also president of Benny Girl Healthy Lifestyle Branding and Communication. And I've been in this healthy lifestyle business for about 15 years, and my forte is fitness. So this topic is right up my alley. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on, a little technical difficulty here. Here we go. All right. So the right equipment for the right job. That's the webinar you came to. That's what we're going to be talking about today. You got that gym membership and even set up a cute home gym. Now it's time to go in on the workouts, but what's the right equipment? Abs, arms, and legs benefit from a variety of tools, but let's review what's the best equipment and exercise to get the job done. There's a lot of great fitness equipment out there, and it can get confusing deciding what's the best way to go about getting the results you're looking for. And we're going to focus on just a few pieces of equipment and how they focus on getting the job done. Strengthening and defining arm muscles takes a different route than defining calves or strengthening hamstrings and glutes. And the core area, that's a whole nother ball game. So let's look at the most readily available equipment, which includes the following. Weights, which are, probably the first thing people think of when they think of, exercising your body parts and getting stronger, getting your muscles stronger. But to get results from weights, you have to challenge yourself. That means using a weight that is heavy enough to force your muscles to adapt and grow stronger. However, you don't want to choose a weight that is so heavy that you compromise your form and start engaging muscles and or shoulders and knees that shouldn't be working, or your back. Although there's no exact weight range for every person, there are some general rules you can follow to make sure your weight isn't too heavy or too light, but just right. Here's the rules. Your weight should make you work for those last few reps without compromising form. If you don't start to struggle during those last few reps, you may need to go heavier. And the exercise you're doing can determine what weight you use. It should correspond to the strength of the muscle you're working. For example, your glutes are very powerful, so you can probably go heavy, pretty heavy, with a weighted squat or deadlift. However, if you're working the back of your shoulders, you may need to go lighter because it's a smaller, weaker muscle group. So consider the muscle group you're working and make sure you choose the weight that challenges the muscle without compromising form. Form is everything. So you really have to, be very aware. And if you're using an app or any kind of exercise, YouTube, you have a mirror handy so that you make sure you're doing the exercise correctly so that you can decide what weight you really should be using. Form is really important. Let's look at resistance bands / tubing. And here we have a woman with bands, but the tubing is also the rubbery material with the handles on the end. But then you have the bands which you can cut to whatever length you want, and they operate as well with tension. So they kind of all are in the same category. Bands are great, first because they can be fixed at any point and they don't rely on gravity. So resistance can be applied from any angle. This makes them excellent for targeting specific joints and muscles through many different ranges of motion. Second, the resistance level of bands increases the further they're stretched. So unlike movements with free weights, which usually become easier after the halfway point, you get a bigger resistance as you increase the stretch in the band. This is good because usually your muscle joints are in their strongest position after the halfway point of the movement. So ideally, that's where you should be getting the highest resistance. And I'm good. There's 4 points that I'm gonna look at, but let's look at the third point. Resistance bands are great for shoulders because they're far safer and more gentle than using free weights. If you're doing upper body stuff, you have really, and the weights might be too heavy, you could, hurt your joint, which is bad. So resistance bands and that kind of stuff make it less likely for you to hurt yourself. Shoulders, like knees, are very easy to injure, and using bands is a low impact form of exercise, which is less likely to result in injury. The fourth thing I'm going to say about bands is they're easily portable. You can put them in your suitcase, take them anywhere, and yet, based on their level of resistance tension, they can be as heavy as a 20-pound weight. Let's look at kettlebells, which are available in a lot of gyms. I'm kind of new to kettlebells, so I'm starting to appreciate and learn, what their benefits are compared to weights. But they're great for strength training, and many exercises are totally interchangeable with dumbbells and weights. But for some weighted moves, especially ones that require an explosive movement, kettlebells reign supreme. So there are a lot of exercises where kettlebells and weights are interchangeable, but there are some exercises where, kettlebells are just going to do a better job. The reason is because their shape makes them easier to swing around. You can hold them by the handle, which allows you to get a different range of motion depending on the exercise you're doing. And kettlebell lets you work your muscles in a different way than a traditional dumbbell. The weight is distributed differently than a typical dumbbell, so it works different muscles doing the same movement. It also requires more wrist motion, so your wrists and forearms get a workout. And then glides. From legs to core, these discs tone basically every inch of your body. They easily work in a lunge as they do in a bridge or a push-up. And at first, you might think an exercise is easier to complete with a disc because you're essentially gliding across the floor. But because you're dealing with friction and instability, your muscles are working overtime to keep you stable. Also, you're loading your muscles to keep pressure into the disc so you don't fall out of the movement, which you definitely begin to feel during the first few reps. Also, discs help to engage your muscles throughout a full range of motion, improving your strength, balance, and flexibility. Gliding discs are also easier on your joints, which makes them a great low-impact tool to help reduce your aches and pains. The gliding motion is less harsh on the body than hardcore jumping and stepping on the floor, but you're still getting the desired results, strength and sweat. Another bonus, they're easily portable like the bands. You can stick them in your suitcase and take them anywhere. Now, one of the things you can use too, if you're convinced that, gliding, there's no downside to using discs. If you don't have any available, you can also use plates or paper towels to slide across the floor and get a very similar effect. And then, of course, we've got the cardio here. We've got the treadmills and the elliptical. There's the cardio burn, which exercises the heart muscle and is the primary way to lose weight. Here we're talking about the treadmills, elliptical machines, bikes, stair climbers, etc. So focusing on muscle groups is the best way to review the equipment, which is why we're looking at the best equipment to get the job done. Which of these is going to get the job done? And they all have their own way for each muscle you're working to get it done. Note that all of these exercises use the core and other muscle groups in addition to the focus muscle. And so that's always a bonus when you're doing an exercise that works multiple muscles. This equipment that we have here is usually available in almost every gym, and it's easily accessible for purchase at home for home use as well. So we're going to focus first on the shoulders and back. Not only are the shoulders and back needed for good posture and support, but their beauty is underestimated. Because most people spend the majority of their days sitting in a flexed position, looking down with rounded backs and shoulders forward. It is important to strengthen your back and shoulders in your workouts to counter the long-term effects of being sedentary for most of the day. And I think we've all done this. You're working on a project. Well, we're sitting at the desk most of the day in front of the computer. I would say most of us are. And, when I'm working on a project with a timeline, I don't even get up as much as I should. I mean, I really have to focus on, looking at the clock and making myself get up. So working the shoulders and back is imperative for undoing all that sitting. And here's some exercises we're going to look at. We've got the dumbbell, the bent over row. So we're looking at dumbbells first. And we have a woman doing the bent over row, which focuses on her shoulders, her delts, her back, rhomboids, traps, and lats. And she's got her core tucked, which is always part of the exercise. Then we have an overhead shoulder press, and that is working the shoulders, the delts, the triceps, and the upper back. Here we have some kettlebell exercises, again, for the back and shoulders. This move is a halo, and it works shoulders, chest, and core. The trick is to keep your core tight and hold your torso stable as you rotate your arms and the weight. Think about tucking your pelvis under so that your back isn't arched. And you don't want to use your back in any of these exercises. If you feel your back, the spine, go to a lighter weight or a different exercise. We have the push press here, and she's pressing those weights up above her head. This move mostly works your arms, but also involves the calves, hamstring, and glutes because of that little bend. And it's just a great fun workout. Again, focusing on, really the focus of these is the upper body, the shoulders and the back. And then for tubing, we have the resistance band split stance overhead press, which works the shoulders, upper back, and upper arms. And again, you see she's bending and pressing, doing all that exercising from the core. Now let's look at biceps and triceps. Excuse me. Here are some dumbbell exercises for biceps and triceps. Here we have, and we're going to bring the delts into this as well. Here we have the 3-way bicep curl, and she's doing the curl in 3 different ways. So she's working that bicep in 3 different ways. It's a great all-around exercise. And really, it's all about the mechanics of why these, these weights are good for this part of the body or this muscle. Next, we have a cross-body single arm curl. And here she's, taking that weight, bringing it all around. So she's working various muscles, triceps, biceps, and you got some shoulder action working as well. Now here we have the kettlebell. This is the kettlebell clean and press, focusing on the shoulder, but it works multiple muscle groups. I don't have it down here, but she's got her quads, her glutes, and using that core to press up that shoulder. And really, I should say, she's bending that tricep to press up, bending and lifting. So that's where the focus is on this. But you can see a lot of different muscle groups working. And then we have resistance band tubing for the biceps and triceps as well. And here we have a woman seated. She's, you have to make that band or whatever tubing or equipment you're using in this genre must be taut. You must give yourself enough shortness or resistance so that when you're doing that curl, you're actually feeling, the resistance and feeling the muscle work. If this is something that you have total control over, so you want to adjust, this equipment so that it's giving you that resistance and allowing that muscle to work in a way that's going to make it stronger. Now let's look at glutes, hamstrings, and quads. Here we go. So with the weights, we have dumbbell lifts, or it's a dumbbell squat and lift, I should say. Single leg deadlift to reverse a lunge. And the thing about, well, I'll go the deadlift in a minute, but here she's working her hamstrings, glutes, and quadriceps. And then we have the weighted bridge, which works the hamstrings and the glutes. As you can see in the first one, as she lifts her leg, that's the glute working, that's the core working to keep her balance. And then as she comes down, she's working the quads and the hamstrings. Same thing with the weighted bridge. She's squeezing her glutes as she lifts up and down to get that muscle to, and with the weights, she's adding additional resistance to really get that muscle to work harder. And then we do the kettlebell. And so we have another deadlift type of exercise. This is without the leg this time. But the thing about deadlifts, including, we go back to this one, and we come back to this one. The thing about deadlifts are that they are amazing. They're really great for your glutes and for the back of your legs. They also challenge your core, which I think we can see there, just because you have to lift yourself back up from that hangover position. When you're doing a deadlift or using your glutes, you can use a heavier weight. And we talked about that this particular part of your body is very strong. So you can usually go a little heavier than, say, if you're working your back or your shoulders. Especially with the kettlebell, since you're not bending your elbows at all with this one, you're mostly using your glutes. You really can go stronger. But notice that she's pulling herself up. You use that core. You don't want your back doing the work. And here we have the suitcase lunge. And this move works the legs again, the glutes, hamstrings, quads, and calf, but really focusing on that lower body. Don't let the dumbbells swing. Keep them stable like she is, so that they actually are like suitcases. When they start swinging, the momentum can start to get out of control, and you can hurt yourself. You can hurt your back. So you want to be under control. If the dumbbells are too heavy and you find yourself swinging and out of control, go to lighter dumbbells. Lighter kettlebells. And here we have a resistance band workout for the lower body. You can see she's lunging, resistance band lateral lunge. And that's working the quads, the glutes, the hamstrings. It's also working the abductors as she pulls out into that move. The next exercise, lying on her side with resistance band, lying lateral raise. Again, working that outer thigh and the core and the glutes. She's lifting up and you know, she has her foot turned in to make sure that that's the right muscle to work. Also, let's go back to the resistance band, the glutes and hamstring. As she's pulling out, she's also working that inner thigh. So that's the adductor. And that's a great muscle to work because it's not a muscle that gets a lot of natural use. You know what I mean? We don't use it naturally for a lot of things. So when we have the opportunity to bring it into exercise, as she's doing here with the resistance, with the lateral lunge, that's a great thing. Now let's look at gliders. Gliders have a place all by themselves because they exercise or they work almost every muscle simultaneously. So here we have a body saw. And as you can tell, she's got her shoulders working to pull her in and out. She's got her core lifted. She's got her glutes working to help bring her in. Just that whole body, the lats, the upper back, everything is working to keep her in that plank position to move back and forth. And we know planks just in general are a great overall total body exercises. So once you add the gliders in, it gets like super great. You really do multitask. Same thing with the slider mountain climber. She's going back and forth on those. And there she's working her core shoulders, and glutes. And then for the upper body, we have arm circles, slider arm circles. Again, starting in that high plank position, which is already by itself a great workout. Now she's bringing the core into it, the balance into it, using the shoulders and the arms to just add to it. And we have the slider knee tuck. Same thing, bring other muscles into that plank workout. Lastly, let's look at cardio for heart and fat burn. And we're going to start with the treadmill. Treadmills are, I think everyone's familiar with the treadmill. You've seen them all in gyms. They're in almost every gym. They're in every gym. I don't know a gym that doesn't have a treadmill. And many homes have treadmills. They're usually the first thing you think of when you think of cardio. And they allow you to walk or run on a moving bike, and you can control the speed and or the incline. The thing about them is don't hold on to the handrail or console. And I'll just say this with treadmills, you want to make sure that you get your heart rate at some level that's going to make a difference. To walk on a treadmill for an hour at 2 miles an hour, you know, it's probably not as, it's just not going to be very productive. It might work your heart. It's a nice little, thing to do, but even, a repetitive move like that for an hour can start to hurt other joints or bother other joints. So you want to, especially if you're trying to lose weight, you want to get that heart rate up. That means you want to get a little incline in there, get a little speed in there, maybe go to 4 miles an hour or 5 miles and then go back to 2. But, get that heart rate up to make your time on the treadmill worthwhile. I think for everybody, anything over, 130 beats per minute and up should be the goal, especially when you're, losing weight or trying to, strengthen your heart muscle. And then we have elliptical, probably the second most popular cardio equipment in the gym. Ellipticals are low impact opportunities, and it's great just for that. It's a cardio machine, so its biggest benefit is improving your cardiovascular health and burning calories. You place your feet on a platform and you move in an elongated circle. And this elongated elliptical circle is a safer option if you have musculoskeletal conditions like lower back pain, knee or hip pain, or health conditions like arthritis or osteoporosis. And lastly, bikes. So we have the stationary bike, and I'm sorry, there's an iStock photo in there. I thought I switched that out, but I didn't. But we have stationary upright bikes, which really demand a lot of you. So they burn more calories compared to the recumbent bike. Stationary bikes, you engage more muscles. And you will here we have it bent over, using your core, using back muscles, using your shoulders, even your neck. Stationary bikes simulate outdoor riding, so it is a good practice in bad weather. It's good practice to get on a stationary bike if you like to bike. Or if you're training or preparing for a race, it's a good exercise to do. You will engage the same muscles as an outdoor bike as if you were on an upright, when you're on or same muscles on an outdoor bike that you will on an upright bike. I hope I said that right. And so it's just going to be a more intense workout, get your heart rate up. You can increase the resistance on these bikes, just like a treadmill, to get, more intensity. The recumbent bike is comfort over cardio. Or if you have, it's great for compromised situations like back problems, which might not allow you to work out on other pieces of equipment. This is a great option. It provides support for your back and spine. And because weight is more evenly distributed using a recumbent bike, the user has more stability. Consequently, it's great if you have stability or balance issues. The design also requires less of the body, which means you won't tire as quickly. Recumbent bikes target the hamstrings better than upright bikes. That's something to think about. And it's good for transition. It's a good exercise or piece of equipment to use when you're transitioning from exercise or injury, because it is gentle on your backs and your joints. So that's the bikes. Here's my information. If you have any questions or comments, you can definitely reach out to me here. And I'll leave it up for a second. And I'm going to now stop sharing my screen. There we go. So I hope this information was good for you. I hope you got, ideas about how to work certain muscle parts, which of how to use the equipment, which of it is best for what you're trying to accomplish. And I will see you at the next webinar. Have a great day or evening, whatever time you're watching this. Bye-bye.